Hey guys, this is my reaction to Rings of Power, Episode 3. As I said before, I'm saving my actual review until the whole series is out for first season. But let me just say, this series keeps getting better and better as far as I'm concerned. Are there some minor things that concern me? Yes, and this could still go either way before the end. I never watched Game of Thrones, but I hear people talking about how that was awesome, and then the last season just botched it. So as you know, just because I like a few episodes, that doesn't mean that the show can't totally take a left turn later on. So hopefully it stays this good until the end and ends up sticking the landing of the season and the series, of which we know there's already several. But as far as this episode goes, a lot of great stuff. You had Numenor, beautiful, just culture, getting to see that and see how they did the architecture and everything there looked great, and that's one of the things I'm really loving about this, is learning about the different cultures. Same thing with the Harfoot, seeing their culture. I'll talk about that in just a second, but let's stick with Numenor for a second and kind of go through as I think the order of things that they happened in the show, kind of doing this off the cuff. Really like seeing just the culture there. We kind of meet up with that when Galadriel and Halbrand, is it Halbrand? I keep forgetting the names. I actually have IMDb open so I can pronounce some stuff here. But Galadriel and Halbrand are there, and they meet before the, I guess it's the queen, really. And it's interesting because we see more of Galadriel just being kind of, not trusting and kind of demanding. And the weird thing is, I can see people being like, well, she's not really a likable character. But the thing is, you don't have to be a likable character. You have to be a compelling character, right? And I feel that Galadriel, she isn't very likable. She's kind of demanding and ostracizing people and kind of single-minded on her goal, to the point where she is making it so that the other people are kind of turning her away and not wanting anything to do with her and thinking that she's a little bit crazy. But her story is compelling, so I'm really enjoying that, even though I don't think she's a likable character. It was real weird. I said something in a group I'm on. There's one scene where it's like the first scene that we see her happy. She is on a horse, and you kind of see her carefree for the first time. And I said in a group, and apparently everybody thought this was hilarious, this is like the scene in DC Comics when Batman starts laughing or smiling, and everyone is just terrified because it is so out of character. And apparently everybody thought that was hilarious. But it was that same feeling. She's been so serious and single-minded for so long, and everything that we've seen her in, to actually see her smiling and almost laughing was a bit unsettling. But I'm curious to see where her story goes. And that took up a good portion of it. That's probably one of my only criticisms. It's not really criticism. It's just kind of, if you're invested in one particular story, you may not see it during a particular episode. So we did not see any of Elrond or Durin. We did not see any of Bronwyn, I believe her name is. It's the girl that Arondir, the elf, him and Bronwyn have a thing, it looks like. We didn't see any of their updates, or Theo, the kid who had the sword. So that is kind of a criticism, but when you're balancing this many things, you're not going to see everybody every episode. But it can be really disappointing, because I like dwarves, and not being able to see that story progress was a little disappointing, but the other stuff kind of made up for it. Other things, I'm liking where the Harfoot stuff is going. It's interesting because a lot of times they keep talking about no one gets left behind. But as soon as the one character, it's Nori's dad, gets injured, it's like, okay, well, you're at the back of the line, and as they're kind of leaving wherever they are to go on their migration, nobody's turning back to really help them. Maybe Nori's friend, Poppy, I think her name is, but it's weird, this kind of dichotomy of, okay, this nice culture that seems so pleasant, but it's kind of ruthless if you get injured. It's almost like every man for themselves, no matter what they say. And some people kind of see that as an error. Well, they keep saying no one gets left behind. Like, well, yeah, but there's lots of things in culture where we say things, but as a culture, we don't follow through on them. And that's interesting to me. And it seems kind of reflect to me even with the Shire, right? Here's this relaxing place in the original Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. but there'd still be people who are jerks, right? You'd still have the Saxonville Bagginses or whatever. So I just find that very interesting about their culture. I'm starting to wonder, what is the stranger's story? The guy who fell from the sky, they're calling him the stranger. Because in the first episode, I guess he showed up at the end of the first. So the second episode, I was convinced that he was evil, that this was sort of just trying to make us think, oh, this is Gandalf. But then bad stuff started happening. Like, it looked like Nori's dad broke his foot at the same time that he was writing stuff. It was like, are you doing some sort of weird spell? And then the fireflies died, and all this bad stuff seemed to be happening. But in this, he actually seems like, well, maybe he's a good guy, but he just can't control his powers. Like, I was convinced for a while that he might mutate or change into a Balrog, because if you know Lord of the Rings mythology, Balrogs and the species of Balrogs and like the wizards are the same species in different forms, same race or whatever. So I just thought this was just sort of a trick, making us think he was somebody somebody good like Gandalf, and then all of a sudden there was going to be a Balrog. But now I'm not so sure, because he actually seems like he might have good intentions. So maybe he just can't control his powers. So that's interesting. We also had, and this is not really criticism, but my concern is Arondir, right? His story's getting pretty dark. Arondir, if you don't remember, is the elf. The elf that had the thing with Bronwyn. And he's captured, he's enslaved, and a lot of his friends, he makes an escape attempt, and some of his fellow enslaved elves are killed brutally. That's another thing. The orcs in here are crazy. I'm liking how they're doing that, but I'm afraid how dark this is getting. And my theory at this point is that they're actually going to take Arondir and possibly turn him into one of the orcs. Some people I've seen online are saying possibly one of the Uruk-hai, I believe is how you say it. And because if you know, I don't know if it was official in the books or if it was just in one of Tolkien's writings that never made it into canon, but one of his ideas was that the orcs, they weren't created, but they actually were corrupted elves. And I'm worried about that because I don't want this to happen to that character. I'm already, like, I was upset enough where he had to cut down the stinking tree in there because it was just going against his principles of nature and caring for nature. And think they might, this character who I do like, to get turned into an orc, I hate that possibility. And also because I hate anything where you're grotesquely mutating. I don't like body horror. So that's not a criticism, but that's kind of, I guess that's actually a good thing, that as long as I don't lean into the body horror, that I'm worried about this character enough that I have to say something. So yes, overall, really liking how this is going. I'm hoping that we go back to Elrond and Durin pretty soon and see more of their story, hopefully in the next episode. I hope they don't wait, break from it for 2 episodes. But yeah, I will review this after all the first season episodes are out officially. Let me know what you think. I hope you're enjoying it. I know some people are kind of iffy on it. It seems very divisive. So yeah, let me know what you think. All right, thanks for listening.